My name is Michael Carter. I'm 38 years old and I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. I've been a truck driver for over a decade. I've driven nearly every corner of this country, from the freezing rain of Seattle to the dry heat of Texas. I've always loved the open road, the steady sound of tires on pavement, the comfortable solitude, the freedom. That morning the sky was clear. I was driving along Highway 89, carrying a simple delivery to Paige. Nothing out of the ordinary. No premonitions, no signs, just the road, the roar of the engine and the sun beating down on the windshield. It was on a long curve near the desert that everything happened. A deer, coming out of nowhere, as if it had appeared out of thin air. I turned the steering wheel hard, instinctively trying to avoid the collision. The truck lost stability. I felt the weight of the load pulling to the left side. I tried to correct it, but it was too late. The world has turned upside down. Glass shattering, the bodywork creaking, the metallic sound of the cabin twisting, and then silence. Absolute. There was no more pain, no more sound, no more cold, no more heat, just a strange lightness as if I were floating. And suddenly I realized something impossible. I was looking at my own body trapped among the wreckage. Down there, my bloody face, my eyes half open, dead. It's not possible. This isn't happening, I thought. But the more I denied it, the clearer it all became. I was dead. But what came next was something that not even in my worst nightmares could I have imagined. If you've ever found yourself wondering what happens after death, if you've ever felt that curiosity or fear of the unknown, then you need to come along on this journey with me. Press like, subscribe to the channel, and get ready, because what I saw will change the way you see life and hell forever. The first thing I felt was absence. Absence of weight, of time, of identity. It was as if everything that defined me, body, history, even my own name, was falling behind. I was floating. I wasn't walking. I wasn't flying. I just moved. And the strangest thing was the feeling that I wasn't alone. Around me, there were other presences. I couldn't see them clearly, but I could feel them. Some seemed confused, others desperate. A heavy, suffocating energy, like people lost in a place that no one has explained how it works. It was then that I noticed something up ahead, a light. But it wasn't the typical bright white light that so many people describe in near-death experiences. It was something more complex, like a pulsating portal, made of memories. The light vibrated with scenes from my life. My mother sending me to school for the first time. My father crying at my grandfather's funeral. My first kiss. My betrayal. My lies. My silences. They were all there, as if each memory were a pixel of what awaited me. And near the light, there was something, or someone. It was a faceless figure. It didn't speak, but its presence was overwhelming. I felt a deep dread, as if my soul was being read aloud, without me being able to hide anything. She reached out something invisible, and I was pulled. Going through that was like diving into myself. The moment I crossed the threshold, I stopped feeling the me I knew. It was as if they were taking my soul apart to show me what was really inside. Not in words, but in feelings. Fear, guilt, love, regret, all at the same time. And then, it got dark. But it wasn't the darkness of emptiness. It was the beginning of the waiting place. I expected something, a judgment, a gateway to heaven or hell. But what I found was different. It was like being in a train station with no trains. A vast, endless space, shrouded in mist. A dark but not solid ground. No sky, no time, no sound, until I began to realize that the sounds were coming from within. Whispers, dozens, maybe hundreds. Voices that didn't seem to speak, but to beg. Some in English, others in languages I'd never heard before, but that I understood. As if there was no more language in that place, only intention. I saw no faces at first, only shadows, figures moving slowly as if searching for something. Some were on their knees, others stood motionless, staring into space. It was as if they were trapped in a suspended eternity, between life and something much worse. I approached a woman. She was crying silently. When she saw me, her eyes widened as if she recognized me. And then she murmured something that has stuck with me to this day. Do you also think this is just a wait? Because it's not. It's the first part. Before I could ask more, she was gone, as if she had been pulled down, swallowed by something invisible. My instincts told me I shouldn't stay there for long. Something was watching, something silent, a faceless judgment. That's when I heard a voice, not from outside but from inside me, a presence that imposed itself with force. Michael Carter, you weren't brought. You came. Are you ready to see what you've always ignored? I tried to respond, to scream, to deny, but it was useless. My mind no longer obeyed me. And then a sound cut through the air, a deep echo, like 1,000 doors opening at once, and I was sucked into what appeared to be a dark auditorium, where every seat was occupied by shadows, and they were all looking at me. A gigantic screen lit up in front of me, and in it, the first scene began. I, at 16, pushed my little brother in anger, making him fall and hit his head. I remembered it as a common accident, but now, I saw the look in his eyes, the fear, the hurt, the loneliness. It was as if I was feeling everything he felt that day. With each scene, my chest tightened more. The wait was over. Hell was breaking loose. The place was huge, silent, and dark, except for the screen that projected moments from my life. I had no body, but I felt everything, every emotion, every shiver, every beat of a heart that no longer beat. The shadow audience watched me. They didn't speak, they didn't react, but they were there, attentive, like silent witnesses to who I was. Small scenes appeared on the screen, details that in everyday life seemed irrelevant, but now pierced me like blades. Me telling my mom I'd call later, and never calling. Me ignoring my ex-girlfriend's call in the middle of a crisis. I kept quiet when I saw a coworker being humiliated. White lies, harsh words, scorn that I hid even from myself. And the cruelest? I felt what others felt. As if, in that place, empathy was mandatory. I was forced to wear the pain I caused. No justification, no escape. The trial had no judge. There was no sentence, only truth. And the truth, it hurts more than any punishment. The screen then stopped on a still image. My father, in the hospital, hours before he died. I didn't go see him. I told myself it was too hard, that he would understand. At that moment I felt what he felt. Abandonment, the loneliness of someone who leaves, waiting for a last look, forgiveness, a goodbye. My tears, if they still existed, would have flooded that place. And suddenly the screen went black. The shadow audience began to disappear one by one like smoke dissolving into thin air. A collective whisper echoed in the void. Now you know. And then a familiar voice, the same one I heard in the waiting place, spoke inside me. Did you expect fire? Did you expect monsters, screams, torture? Hell, Michael, is being exposed to the unfiltered truth, and relive eternally the moments when you were absent from yourself. I felt my ground open up, not like before, but in a symbolic way, like my soul was being pulled into a new layer, a deeper one, a darker one, and much, much more personal. Everything around me began to crumble, not in chaos, but in silence, as if the world was being rebuilt in my most hidden image. I was falling, but not in the fire. Do not enter demons. I fell into myself, to the beginning of my own hell. There was no fire, there was no screaming, but there was pain, a silent, persistent, intimate pain, tailor-made for me. The fall was not physical, it was emotional, as if each layer of my consciousness was being ripped away, revealing what I had always hidden, old hurts, buried fears, and most importantly, guilt that I never wanted to name. The arrival was familiar. It was the room I grew up in but distorted. The walls seemed to breathe as if the place were alive, watching. The window always showed the same gray sky, the same time of day. Nothing changed. And that's when I realized time didn't exist there. The first punishment was not imposed. It was remembered. I heard footsteps in the hallway, and when I opened the door, I saw my younger brother, still a child, standing there. He was looking at me with teary eyes, just like the day I wrongly accused him of breaking our father's computer. That episode was forgotten, for me, but not for him. In hell, there is no such thing as, it was just a detail. When I tried to speak to him, my voice wouldn't come out. When I tried to move, my body froze. I was forced to relive that moment. Only now, with him, I was him. I felt the pain, the shame, the loneliness, and I couldn't stop. Then came the second scene, a relationship I had destroyed out of pride. We were in the apartment where I had lived with Emily. Everything was the same. The smell of the place, the sound of the old fan, even the dim light in the kitchen. She was in the living room crying, saying, "Why do you always disappear when I need you the most?" In real life, I ignored it. I said I was busy. I hung up the phone and went out for drinks with friends. Now, there, I felt what she felt. The feeling of being alone in the world, the helplessness, the frustration accumulated from years of silence. It was as if her soul had been sewn into mine, forcing me to carry her pain. And that was just the beginning. Because in hell, you don't get punished for being bad. You are punished for everything you failed to be. With each new environment, a new version of my distorted past awaited me. Sometimes I relived the same day 10, 20, 100 times, always with a new layer of emotional suffering, always with greater awareness. And I understood. It wasn't about physical pain. It was about facing everything I avoided, what I pushed under the rug, what I justified as life stuff. Hell is a mirror, and the image you see never lies. In the middle of this endless cycle, I heard that voice again. Is this punishment? No, this is clarity. And then a question echoed in the air, coming from myself. Can I get out of here? The answer? A deafening silence. Time there didn't follow any logic. Days? Weeks? Years? I don't know. But I know that I lived, or rather relived, each of my worst moments, repeatedly, as if the universe had decided that the fairest punishment would be to make me feel everything that I pretended not to see in life. It wasn't a generic hell. It was mine, designed with the most intimate details of my story. I saw myself in everyday situations that from afar seemed banal, but there, in that place, they gained an unbearable clarity. Me laughing with friends after humiliating a shy classmate at school. Me ignoring the pain of a friend who opened up about depression. Me avoiding the gaze of a homeless man who was reaching out to me. Every moment was a thorn stuck in the soul. Hell, I understood, is not a place of physical torture. It is a place where conscience is the executioner, where time does not heal, exposes, where the only company is the version of yourself you fear most to face. In one of the cycles, I went back to the day I was promoted at work. It was a happy day, full of smiles. But there, in that distorted environment, the congratulations sounded hollow, and one figure stood out. Daniel, a colleague who was expecting the same promotion but ended up being fired weeks later. He looked at me, not with anger, but with sadness, and in that moment I felt it. I felt what he felt, the feeling of invisibility, of injustice, of powerlessness. It was unbearable. At some point I started talking to myself, literally. Before me appeared an older, more tired version of myself. He looked me in the eyes and said, "We are not here because we are monsters. We are here because we were indifferent." It destroyed me inside. And in this emotional void, a question began to form within me. Does everyone have a hell like this? Would people realize where they went wrong? If they were forced to watch their own lives like I was? If you are seeing this, tell me. What moment in your life would hurt you the most to relive? Comment below, I'll read it. Because maybe, just maybe, sharing your truth is the first step to not creating your own personal hell. And then, like a spark in the dark, a new voice emerged. Different from the other one. Softer. Do you want to get out of here? But it won't be for free. The question hung in the air like a rope thrown to a castaway. Do you want to get out of here? Yes. With all the despair of someone who has had their soul flayed by their own conscience. But in that place, willpower was not enough. The second part of the sentence was what mattered. But it won't be for free. And then he appeared. It wasn't a demon. It didn't have horns or black wings. It was me, but an older me, worn out with deep marks on his face, a sunken gaze. He wore the same clothes as the day of the accident. Dirty, scruffy, tired. He approached slowly, as if he didn't need to rush. "You called me back," he said, his voice almost breaking. "I am the sum of everything you ignored. I am the man you were becoming." I tried to back away, but there was no ground. I tried to look away, but there the truth was a mirror that imposed itself. He continued, "This place is not a punishment. It's a mirror, a trial. Every part of hell you've seen was built by you, and if you want to get out, you'll have to go through the one thing you never wanted to face." "What?" I asked in a whisper. He pointed to a door that had appeared behind him, an ancient wooden door covered in symbols that pulsed like living scars. "You'll have to relive it all, again, but this time, like the other one." Before I could respond, he disappeared, and the door opened by itself. I was engulfed in a bright light, unlike anything I had ever seen there. For the first time, there was heat, not a destructive heat, but intense, as if every cell in my soul was being forced to remember. And then came the crossing. I went through the same moments as before, but now I was no longer a spectator. I was the other person. I felt the impact of the childhood fall I caused, the rejection of the woman I left, the loneliness of the father I abandoned, the shame of the friend I betrayed. I was all of them. Every pain I caused, every absence I left, every silence I chose. I cried, I screamed, I begged, but the crossing did not stop, because that was the price. And in the end, after going through all of this, I found myself facing myself again. But now, different. There was no more shadow. I knelt down, and for the first time since the accident, I felt something like peace. The voice came back. "You saw it. You felt it. Now the question is, what will you do if you get a second chance?" And everything went white. White as the beginning. White as rebirth. White as the moment. When I woke up with a start. My lungs burned as if they were learning to breathe again. My eyes burned. Everything hurt. Everything throbbed. The cold light of the hospital blinded me, and for a second I thought I was still trapped in that place, in that private hell. But then, human voices, equipment beeping, the smell of antiseptic. I was back. "He's back. He's waking up," I heard someone say, and then faces appeared. Doctors, nurses, a police officer. One of them held my hand and said, "Michael, you've been in a serious accident. Your heart stopped for 4 minutes. 4 long minutes. 4 minutes." But for me, it had been years. I was hospitalized for 3 days. 3 days in silence, unable to explain what I saw. They said I was confused, that it was the effect of the brain trauma. But it wasn't. It was all real. In the following days, the nightmares continued. I woke up screaming in a cold sweat. I felt again the pain of the boy I hurt, the woman I abandoned, the father I ignored. Each memory was still alive, imprinted on me like scars on my soul. But there was something new, an urgency, a fire inside, as if every second now was sacred. At the first opportunity, I called my brother. We hadn't spoken in years. I asked for forgiveness. He cried. So did I. Then I went after Emily. She looked at me in surprise. She thought I wanted to get back together. I said no. I just wanted to say what I never said. "I failed you, and I'm sorry." She didn't answer. She just hugged me. And in that hug, something inside me began to heal. The days went by and I changed everything. I sold the truck. I got off the road. I started working at a community center helping at-risk youth, something I never imagined I would do. But every face there reminded me of who I had been and who I could still be. I started visiting my old neighborhood, helping homeless people, listening to stories that I had previously ignored. And with every conversation, with every gesture, I felt that I was gradually cleaning away the walls of the hell I had built. But there was something that didn't change. The feeling that I was being watched, as if what was shown to me wasn't over yet. One night, I dreamed of that door again, but it was closed, locked, and on the wood, a phrase engraved in deep letters. "You've been given a chance, use it wisely." I woke up with tears in my eyes, but not from fear, of gratitude, because now I knew hell is not the end. Hell is the warning. The second chance is the test. And time starts counting from here. Coming back to life is not as simple as waking up in a hospital bed. There's something strange about being a survivor when you know you've somehow died, when you've been there and back. For weeks, I walked among the people as if I were out of time. The streets of my city looked the same buildings, the same cafes, the same sounds. But I was different, and everything that had once seemed ordinary now carried a different weight. I saw pain in the looks I had previously ignored. I saw empty haste in people's steps, I saw people screaming in silence, and no one listening. It was hard to reconnect. My family treated me like a miracle. The doctors talked about a physiological coincidence and extreme neurological response. But I knew I had gone to a place where time bends and truth is absolute. And more than that, I knew I had come back with a mission. I started writing. Every detail of what I saw, every scene, every pain. It was like vomiting your soul. It was trying to make sense of something that couldn't be put into words. But the words came, and with them, a desire to share. I opened an online channel, small at first. I recorded a simple video with my cell phone camera saying, "My name is Michael Carter. I died for 4 minutes." And what I saw was not the hell we were taught. At first, no one cared. But then, something happened. Comments started coming in. People from all over the world. People who had also had near-death experiences. People who had never died but felt dead inside. And then there were people who carried similar guilt as I did, and never knew what to do with it. We started talking. We started exchanging stories. We started understanding that maybe hell isn't in a place, but in the way we live or don't live. And then came an unexpected moment. I was at a small lecture in a high school, talking about choices, about empathy, about how our actions leave marks. When I finished, a boy of about 17 came up to me. He didn't say anything, he just hugged me. He stayed there for a few seconds, and then he whispered, "I was going to take my life today, but now I think I'll try to live differently." I held back my tears until I got home. That night I looked in the mirror. I saw the lines on my face. My eyes were heavier, but I saw something new too. Peace. Not the peace of those who have won, but the peace of those who have understood. Of someone who carries a truth and decides not to bury it. Because the return is not just physical, it's spiritual, it's moral, it's a summons. And the question that has haunted me ever since is simple, yet devastating. What would you do if you had a second chance? On the outside, I looked fine. The medical tests said my body was recovering. My heartbeat was normal. My blood pressure was under control. Some called it a miracle, others luck. But no one saw what was inside, because the deepest marks left no visible scars. At night, the dreams still came. Sometimes I found myself in that dark room, with the shadows watching. Other times, I would stand in front of the closed door, reading the phrase engraved on it. And some nights, I was someone else, someone I hurt, someone I ignored. It wasn't punishment, it was memory. My mind refused to forget what the soul had learned. Coming back to life with this kind of consciousness is a burden. You can't laugh at cruel jokes anymore. You can no longer walk past someone in pain and pretend you didn't see it. You can no longer justify the omission. You live with the weight of knowing, and knowledge demands action. I started living with more purpose. Not perfectly, far from it, but true. I started visiting nursing homes. I heard stories of people who had been forgotten, stories similar to mine. Regrets, wrong decisions, words left unsaid. And on each visit I left a question. If you could go back in time, would you do it differently? The answer, almost always, was the same. Yes. And then I thought, I'm back. Now what am I doing with it? I started recording more videos, now in more depth. I talked about empathy, about small gestures, about how hell sometimes begins with the simple act of being silent when we should speak, of turning our faces away when we should extend a hand. Many people said I was going crazy, but others said they were waking up. One day I received a letter, handwritten. It was from a man in Texas who had abandoned his daughter when she was born. He saw my videos, and after 19 years, he decided to look for her. I don't know if I'll get forgiveness, he wrote, but now I understand that absence is also a form of wound, and I don't want to live in my own hell anymore. I cried, because at that moment I realized that the invisible marks I carry were touching other souls. And maybe that's the real purpose of a second chance. Transform scars into paths. But even with all this, I felt like something was still coming. A presence, a warning, a final lesson. And she would come soon. It was an ordinary dawn. The kind of night when everything is too quiet, when the silence seems dense. I lay there, but sleep wouldn't come. The kind of insomnia that isn't physical, it's existential. Like the body is tired, but the soul is still alert. That's when I felt it. The same presence, the one that accompanied me throughout the entire experience. It wasn't fear. It was something more subtle, more profound. And then I dreamed. He was in an open field covered in fog. In the distance, a figure was approaching. He walked slowly, no face, but I knew who he was. It was him, not the twisted self from hell, not the executioner in the mirror, but an ancient entity, a consciousness. He stopped in front of me, and for long seconds he just watched me. "You're living like it's forever again," he said. That hit me like a punch, because it was true. I had returned to life with strength, purpose, but little by little the routine had returned. The little distractions, the ego, vanity, disguised as a mission. Do you think you came back to be applauded? He came back to serve, to warn, to remind others that hell is not a place. It is a daily choice. You had a chance, Michael, but that chance has a limit. The figure held out his hand, and in it was an hourglass. The sand was running fast, too fast. You will not have another crossing. This is the last life where your soul will have a voice. After this, there will be only echo. I tried to ask what he wanted me to do, but he just pointed behind me. I turned around and saw the world, literally. People walking in a hurry without seeing each other, parents yelling at their children, young people obsessed with approval, couples separated by screens, families silent at the table, lives being wasted, not out of malice, but out of indifference. And then I understood. The message wasn't just for me, it was for all of us. The final warning was not a threat. It was a collective mirror. Speak, Michael. As long as your voice echoes, there will be a chance. When it falls silent, it will be too late. I woke up with a start. The clock read 3:33. He was sweating, his chest heaving. And there, sitting on the edge of the bed, I wrote on a piece of paper the only sentence that really matters. Are you living like you're forever? This question is the beginning of the salvation of any soul. And if you've made it this far, maybe you've already felt the call too. Life returned to normal, but not me. I walk the same streets, see the same landscapes, cross paths with the same people. But inside me, everything has changed. Not because I saw hell, but because I understood what hell really is. He is not underground. It's not made of flames and monsters. It's not a place. It's a process. It is the accumulation of the small decisions we make every day, ignoring a pain that is not ours, to remain silent in the face of injustice, keeping words that should be said, postpone gestures of love, living as if time were infinite. This is hell, and it starts in life. I learned this in the most brutal way possible, by dying. But you can learn by living. If you're watching this story this far, it might not be by chance. Maybe you also had a feeling. Maybe deep down you feel like you are straying from what you should be. My mission is now clear. It's not about convincing anyone. It is not about being followed, idolized, admired. It is to serve as a sign. A reminder that all of us, without exception, are one choice away from creating our own hell, or starting to build a path out of it. You may never have an NDE. You may never see the shadows. But still, it can change. Start today. Look inside. Ask for forgiveness. Give the hug that was missing. Say what's stuck in your throat. Forgive. Help someone without expecting anything in return. Live with intention. And most importantly, stop pretending that you will have time for everything. Because it won't. And if one day you wake up in a place like the one I was in, may it be just a dream, and not the reflection of your unlived life. If this story spoke to you, if you got this far, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, because there's much more to come. Leave your like now. It shows that you value this type of content and helps me to continue. And if you felt something real during this journey, comment below. I want to live with purpose. I want to know who was with me until the end. And now, it doesn't stop there. Click on the video that is appearing on the screen. It will touch you even deeper.